What's up, everyone? I'm Scott.
And I'm Jason.
And you are listening to Liquid Courage. My friend, we are back in our respective home offices.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's nice to be home for a little bit, and then August is looking like it's going to be a busy travel month for me as well, or busy. The next few weeks are going to be pretty busy, not necessarily travel, but people traveling to see us. I'm traveling, Noreen's traveling, so if there was a summer vacation for adults, we are taking full advantage of it.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are making the best of it. We just got back from a week in the high country of Colorado, and man, I tell you, it's a fun place. The EP lives in the suburbs, and it's a cool little town, a cool little area. I can see why he likes it there. But like someone famous once said, there's no place like home.
Oh, yeah. I used to think that it would be great when I retired. Oh, I would go spend 2 or 3 months in this city, and then I would go spend 2 or 3 months in this city. And then you get to traveling, it's like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, okay, I'll spend 2 or 3 weeks, but when I get home, I'm going to be home.
Oh yeah, like for me, home is where our dogs are. That's where it is.
Yeah.
And our boys were here, so we needed to be here. We did leave Denver on a day that was 78 and sunny and overcast, mixes all throughout the day with a little bit of light rain. And when we stopped for a restroom break in Las Vegas about 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and it was 120 getting out of the car, you are not emotionally prepared for that temperature jump.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. No, you wouldn't be. I mean, and we're in Arizona, we're used to it, but even Arizonans say it's hot. It is
Yeah.
hot out.
Yeah, and it's not looking like it's much of a monsoon this year either, man. It's looking like it's just going to be a dud, and that
Well,
sucks because I love the rains, but
yeah, I mean, it's going to be very humid. Like we've already hit the 20s and 30s down here for humidity. So it's been very muggy down here, but no rain.
yeah, and that's the worst part. Like if you get a monsoon season, you need that moisture to justify the just ick that you're in.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, no, it's been an interesting summer. Actually, it's been an interesting year all the way around. I'm glad you got to see the executive producer. I'm glad that you got
Yeah.
to see him and spend some time with him. Sounds like you had a good time.
Yeah, yeah, he knows how to show the family a good time, and he set up a lot of things for the girls. Like we went to the Natural Science Museum, we went to a Rapids game for the MLS, Major League Soccer. He and I took in a Rockies game for a Liquid Courage excursion, and had ourselves a delightfully fun time with a lot of libations and day baseball.
Oh, that's
And
wonderful.
that is one of my favorite things of vacation is if I go someplace where there's a matinee, like professional baseball game, if I could just go sit in the stands, enjoy the weather, the company, and a cold beer and a hot dog, I'm good.
And I'm sure that it was probably packed though.
It was the Astros. So, and
Oh,
their fans travel very well. And I'll be honest, I'm sure it's a cheap flight from Denver to Houston. And do you want to be in Houston in the middle of July, or do you want to be in Denver in the middle of July?
no. Yeah, no.
See,
No.
see, it was a lot of orange in the field, and for a Wednesday afternoon game, there were way more fans than I expected. But it's good for them. I mean, it's a beautiful ballpark, beautiful part of downtown Denver. I highly recommend spending some time in Denver. I've been there in the winter now, the fall, the summer. As long as it's not snowing, I just think it's a great place.
Oh yeah, I've been to Denver lots of times because my best friend lives there, and it's an awesome place. And when you're with someone who knows around the town, there's a lot of fun things to do. A lot of
Yeah,
fun things. The downtown area in downtown Denver is an amazing hot spot.
yeah.
Like if you want to just go down there, kind of look around, bar hop, it's awesome.
And that's what Tom and I were talking about. It was, when we come back next summer, because we took, our oldest child in this house is a huge fan of The Shining. So the Stanley Hotel up in Estes Park, which is an hour away from us, was the Overlook Hotel in the movie. So we had to go check it out. And they now have the Shining tours where they take you through all the movie stuff, but only from 4 to 10 at night. So we didn't know that. So we know that for next time. And,
Yep.
there's whitewater rafting next time and space observatories. There's a lot of things that, apparently we have to go back because there's a lot of, we'll do this next time we come up here.
Well, and so while you were doing all that kind of fun stuff, I had to take advantage of the waning months of movies coming out because now that everybody's on strike, there's going to be no movie industry. There's going to be no TV industry. I mean,
Yeah.
it's gone to hell shit. So obviously the last 2 weeks you had the new Mission Impossible come out, and then you had the Barbie and the Oppenheimer come out. And let's just say that I was looking for tickets for Sunday to go see Oppenheimer in Phoenix. Every theater that I would normally be close to sold out.
Really?
Sold out of Oppenheimer. Yeah, it was. There were no tickets available at all. Now I didn't go. I didn't look for Barbie, but Noreen and some of her girlfriends are going to go when she gets back from her travels. So they'll probably, maybe a couple weeks they'll be able to find tickets. But yeah, there was no tickets for Oppenheimer at all.
So it's interesting you bring this up because you're right. You talk about the writer's strike and then the actor's strike because we had the EP and I and Janice had a conversation about this up in Phoenix, or up in Denver, because there's going to be no movies, no TV shows, like you said. This is the last great hurrah for a while. Whatever's in the can for like the holidays, as long as they're in the technical stuff, they don't have to do any reshoots. It'll come out. But this is going to be like COVID all over again, where nothing comes out. It's so bad. CBS is going to air Yellowstone on Sunday nights because they understand they'll have no Sunday night programming for a while.
Yeah, I mean, and frankly, one of the things that's awesome about the summer is that you get those big blockbuster movies, right?
Yeah.
The big movies that come out, and the big stories, and the big, like the Indiana Jones movie came out, and then the Mission Impossible
Well,
came
see,
out.
that's it. You got basically a month of blockbuster movies that I would love to see the Indiana Jones in theaters. I don't know if it's going to work. Same with Mission Impossible. Oppenheimer, I would love to. Again, it's time, and there's not a lot of time right now. But the Barbie movie, you're right. It culturally it seems weird, but I think I understand why people are obsessed with it.
Explain it to me because the numbers came out for the first weekend, and Barbie outpaced Oppenheimer like almost 3-1.
Yeah,
Almost
and
three to one. The combined movies together brought in $250 million this weekend.
yeah, and that makes sense to me. And it makes sense to me for this reason. Oppenheimer is it's a long, drawn out, historically accurate, mostly movie, correct?
Very correct. Yes.
It's very well done. A lot of big actors. To me, it feels like almost like a holiday movie that you'd want to see because it's one of those. It's going to be an Oscar movie. We know that
Right.
it's going to be an Oscar movie, and unless you're into historical, factual movies, we'll call that a docudrama for the better part of the argument. I mean, it's a great history piece to learn. Like, oh, this is what happened. But unless you're looking for something like that, the generations that are going to the movies now grew up with Barbie. Barbie has been around since the 60s,
50s, I think.
50s,
They've
60s.
been around for a while. Yeah.
The majority of our population has been around and at some point in their life had a Barbie, had a sibling with a Barbie, had a friend with a Barbie or a girlfriend with a Barbie. And they can identify with that because that's such a big piece of pop culture. And let's be real, it's fucking hot outside, and you want to go someplace where you're not paying for the air conditioning to shut your mind off for 2 hours and have mindless fun. And it doesn't hurt that Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling are the main characters, and they are both stacked.
Well, that could be true. I mean, I know that the Barbie movie. You're right. The audience range on the Barbie movie will be
Yeah.
much greater than the
Yeah.
range of the Oppenheimer movie, because the Oppenheimer movie is going to require a little bit of a cerebral investment that most people don't want to do. They just don't
Yeah.
want to think about anything. They just want to kind of watch TV, numb their mind for the couple hours, and kind of just go off into like a frivolous kind of let's just have some fun.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I think when I see Oppenheimer eventually, it's going to be that's a movie where I know I have to make that, you said it, cerebral commitment. I'm going to sit down and this is what we're doing tonight. We're watching this. And you're getting your popcorn and your drink, and you're just going to enjoy it for 3 hours. And that's when you almost have to sit through from start to finish because you got to keep up with everything. Barbie is one of those, if I ever see it, and I mean this truthfully, if I ever see it, it's because I'm home sick on the couch one day and it's streaming and I've got nothing else to watch, or I fell asleep with something else on and that came on right after it.
Have you been asked by the girl to go see it?
Our youngest is too young to go see it, and the oldest went with some friends on Saturday night, so I got out of it.
Oh, okay. So she did go see it. Yeah, yeah. I've heard. I have heard also about Oppenheimer is that there are a couple of moments in the film that the reports that have come out from people who have watched the film that they actually left the audience emotionally disturbed.
Wow.
About the theme of this massive power that was unleashed to the world, all in the name of trying to end World War II. And especially what I've read. Now, this is only what I've read because I have not seen it yet. But they also say that it's amazing how timely the same dilemmas are that they were facing in the 40s with this power that is now going on with the AI of today. The ramifications of the impacts of if we unleash this, what are we getting ourselves into?
Yeah, it's interesting that's what people are saying because I feel like we're going to have two very different results with what we did with nuclear weapons versus what we're going to do with AI.
Oh, explain that. Like, what do you mean?
Well, and we touched on AI last week. I feel like when it comes to the nuclear weaponry, even though all the major powers in the world have them, it's one of those like we have it just in case, but we're not going to use it unless we absolutely have to. I think AI is the complete opposite, where everyone's going to think they can control it until they can't.
Yeah, maybe. Well, and so when a movie brings out that sort of emotional discharge from an audience, let's be real. Most people don't want to be depressed. Most people don't want to go through that emotional roller coaster. And so, when you add in that it's almost 3 hours, and you add in that it's not a happy-go-lucky, oh, this is great, hey, everyone's smiling and dancing and doing all that stuff. It probably leads to the fact of, I have a choice of being happy for 2 hours and seeing pretty people and just have fun and not think, or I have a movie that might make me emotionally disturbed because of the topic.
Well, also, in fairness, in that 3-hour movie, 15 minutes of that is a sex scene, which is impressive.
Wow. I don't even last 15 minutes.
That's right. I mean,
that's amazing.
By the way, if you can find the memes online when that report came out, the memes that came out to like antagonize that were gold.
Oh, really? Okay.
They were spot on hilarious. So that's the one thing I told Janice is like, this movie's 3 hours long, but 15 minutes of that is a sex scene. And she's like, that's a long time. I said, I know. That's a long time for a movie sex scene.
I think that's one thing that I've hypothesized as well is that the younger generations, the younger generations don't look at the long-term impact of things that are going on in their life. Everything is an immediate gratification. What does this event have to do with me right now today?
Yeah.
And the reality is that you could watch a movie like Barbie and enjoy it for the 2 hours and then move on to something else.
Yeah, it's mindless fun.
Oppenheimer, I have not seen it, but I don't think that that's going to be one of these movies that you can necessarily just say, I watched it for 3 hours and I am done and moving on.
Do you remember years ago when we went out and saw Inception?
Yes.
And that's very much Christopher Nolan's very much on the scale of he makes these mind-bending movies between Inception and Tenet and this
and the Dark Knight,
Knight series and the Prestige. These are movies that are meant to challenge a lot of the social norms and a lot of things that people aren't necessarily comfortable having challenged.
Why is that, do you think? I mean, this is more of just a general question because I find that too, that a lot of people, like, you know how it is when you start talking about politics. There's a lot of people say, God, just shut up. We don't want to talk about these things.
Yeah.
Well, why not? Why don't you want to talk about these things? Because so many times these things impact you and you don't even care that they impact you.
I think it's more of this person, the storyteller, has a platform. He has a platform to tell what his vision of the story is and what he thinks are important facts within the story, whether it be general themes or social commentaries. It's a chance to, I guess, in a better way, the best way to put it is to educate people. And Oppenheimer is a great example of that. And I'll be honest, I haven't sat through Tenet. I started it, and that's one of those you have to be
Oh,
paying attention the entire time.
it's a mind screw too. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's, I mean, I liked it, but it's definitely for a select audience,
yeah. And Inception,
because
I
the mind
love, but
has
even
to, you break, like you said, your mind has to break through the concepts that hold us together. And that's hard for a lot of people. That some people just don't want to do that. I don't want to think
yeah.
that hard.
And what I think is interesting with Oppenheimer, this is taking place during what's called the Greatest Generation. That generation is now mostly dying off, if not already gone. And this is a critical story about a critical person during a critical time in our planet's history. And it's important that it gets documented in this kind of media, because the way things are being attacked now, and they're being presented to the public, you want something like this out there, which it shows the story of the why, the how, and then the aftermath. That way, this is a case where maybe people understand, like, okay, that the cause and effect.
Do you think that if I went to, how about this? Let me do it this way. If I went to 100 people between the ages of 18 and 30, and I asked them what was the impact of the creation that Oppenheimer created, what percentage of those people would even know what he created
Well, what percentage of
before
those
this
people would know who
movie?
Oppenheimer is?
Yeah, before this movie came out, what percentage of that generation would know who Oppenheimer even was?
And that's a good point. It's your history nerds.
So like you said, everyone, I don't care what age you are, everyone knows who Barbie is. Everybody knows who
Yeah.
Barbie is. I can relate to Barbie. If you're an audience seeker who does not know anything about World War II, or does not know anything about, how the nuclear age was started, I could totally see Oppenheimer not being a movie that I would ever choose to go to.
Yeah. But that's one of those, and there's every generation has those movies like, wow, that movie would have changed everything if people would have just sat down and watched it and understood. And then you start pulling on that string and you start thinking about, there are so many other characters in this world that I wish they'd take the same approach to those movies, but it might be too late. Like we talk about, like if they do something like this with Nikola Tesla, I believe that would be another mind-bending, eye-opening experience because of all the things he did, all the patents he had, the way his life ended, and what happened after that.
I gotta be honest. I think there is a movie about Nikola Tesla. I think Benedict Cumberbatch plays Tesla.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I think there is a movie about
Oh,
it.
that's
Yeah,
how good it was.
I
That's
don't
how good it
remember the
was. I
name.
didn't know about it.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the movie, but there is a movie where I think it's Benedict Cumberbatch plays Tesla, or he plays one of those guys that created the the electric powers of electricity. Yeah.
Was that was that the Prestige though, with the magicians, with Christian
No,
Bale and
no,
Hugh Jackman?
I'll find it while we're talking, but yeah, no, he was in a movie that was basically set to uh yeah, oh no, it was called the Current War, and he played Thomas Edison, and He and Nikola Tesla were going through generating the powers that were being harnessed in the late 1800s, 1900s, and it's called the Current War. And Nicholas Hoult, who played Peter in the Queen or the Great. Did you ever see the show The Great on Hulu?
No.
Did you ever see Renfield?
Yeah. Yeah. He played
He
Renfield.
played Renfield. Well, he plays Nikola Tesla in this movie. Kind of an interesting movie because it's basically a historical piece about these two great inventors trying to outdo each other to earn the power of selling electricity to the market.
Yeah.
But there you go, right there. There you go, right there. An amazing story that no one knows about because it's not sexy. It's not, it's not something that the vast majority of movie watchers will ever go see. And I don't know if it's right or wrong. I know personally I have my own personal feelings about that, but the reality is that we live in a world that's tough enough. I think moviegoers do not want to spend 3 hours getting depressed.
No, not until Oscar season. Then
Well,
it's different.
or sometimes these movies come 5 or 10 years later too, right? Where something happens in the world, and like something will happen in the nuclear era in, let's say, the next 5 years, where something bad happens, and everyone's going to say, "Oh my gosh, this is exactly what they were talking about in that movie Oppenheimer," and people are going to go, "Oppenheimer, what's that?" You know what I mean? So maybe that's something else to keep in mind, is that there's the immediacy of right now, I'm having fun right now, and then there's those pieces of history that are made.
Well, I think a lot of what this is this is done in IMAX though too. So there's people using the IMAX theaters. Tom Cruise threw a big fit about that because it took Mission Impossible off the IMAX theaters. Um, but again, it goes back to the summertime. It's hot, and you want to be inside eating popcorn and watching mindlessly fun movies, whether it's Mission Impossible, Barbie, Indiana Jones. This to me feels like it's more. It's a Thanksgiving through New Year's Oscar movie where the weather's as it is. So the sky's already great. You know what you're getting into going into it. Where it's almost like the tone of the movie should almost match the tone of the season that you're in, if that makes sense.
Oh, interesting. So maybe the timing of the movie is what's the problem.
And that might be it. But clearly, like I saw a picture online today. It's a Monday that we're recording, and the line in our movie theater, which is a fourplex, was wrapped around the corner at noon today, full of old people. So older people. I'm gonna go on a limb and say they're going to Oppenheimer, but I could be wrong. That could be a mix of Oppenheimer and Barbie.
Well, yeah, and it's still early. Let's just say this: even though Barbie kicked the crap out of Oppenheimer in the first weekend, they both did pretty damn good.
Well, here's the next wrinkle in this conversation. We talked about the writer's strike and the actor's strike and the lack of movies that'll be coming out. I think this honestly extends the runs on a lot of movies that haven't performed like to what they thought they would. Because if they have to start spacing out their inventory of completed movies, it's feasible to see something like Indiana Jones and Mission Impossible, and even Oppenheimer and Barbie having extended runs in the theaters because if they put everything out on their current schedules, when they're out, they're out.
I don't know if they do it up there in Kingman, but in Phoenix, they do every Tuesday of the month. They do a release of an older movie from like the 80s or 70s or whatever.
We go like the first Thursday of every month. They have that here.
Yeah. What do you think of those? Like, have you ever gone to watch a movie that you remember from when you were a kid and go back to the big screen to watch it again?
No.
You're not into that kind of stuff.
Well, I don't pay that close of attention. I used to go to the movies all the time. I think you know that. We would go all the time, see all the newest movies, and as life changes, I haven't had the time. And quite honestly, everything goes streaming so much faster now. I tend to just wait for it to come streaming.
Yeah. See, and I'm more of a snob where I like the big screen. I like sitting in the big chair, having my popcorn on the big screen with the big stereo.
Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong. There's still movies like that I want to go do. Like, and I think I've said this a few times in this show. Indiana Jones and Mission Impossible are those. Those are the movies I want to see like that. But it comes down to timing, really.
Yeah. Well, and I know that must be one thing nice about being retired. My mom went to go to the movies by herself because she does that, in Vegas, and she went at like 11 o'clock on a Thursday or something like that. And it was like no line because, it was, there was
11 o'clock on a
no
Thursday.
people. And I thought, oh, that is going to be nice when I retire. I can just go to the movie whenever I want. Or like you guys, I'll go to a baseball game that starts at 12,
Yeah, it's the fun stuff.
It's the fun stuff, man. Yeah, yeah.
That's the joys of vacation and being retired. So, as we move closer to the end of the show, I want to go back to the strike, the writer's strike and the acting strike.
Okay.
There's a niche market. Thank God football's starting, by the way. As long as there's live sports and most reality shows, I think people will mostly survive. But I read an article and I found this very interesting. If this drags on, the industry is going to look at professional wrestling as a big entertainment void filler. Because it's sports entertainment, those writers for the scripted matches aren't part of the Writers Guild, so they're still working. They're still producing new shows every week.
Yeah, it's tough for me because I think of it from purely an artistic perspective that we are so quick to get rid of any sort of artistic design creation just to fill our times with just nonsense.
But you say it like that, but there's still an art to the way they write that and the way they have to tell a story over multiple weeks in 5 to 10 to 15-minute increments.
And very well too. I mean, yeah, you're right. I've never really watched wrestling. I don't know the artistic, creative juices that make a emotionally impactful wrestling 15-minute segment. So you're right. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. Maybe it's very creative and very artistic, and it brings out the emotional juices that inspire us to do great things. I don't know. I've never watched.
I think that was the point of the article was like you're gonna as people look for scripted dramas. The only new scripted dramas that will be around for the next little while are professional wrestling because those writers work for the company. They don't have guild writers cards, or if they do, that doesn't apply here. Mm-hmm. So they have new content every week that keeps you engaged. And with the way social media is now, they can keep baiting you over the week to tune in to keep the shows going. So I thought it was very interesting how you can look for, small niche markets like that to really thrive in an entertainment desert like we're about to walk into.
Hey, I mean, and let's be honest, these big companies, Netflix, Amazon, Disney, Apple, if they want to save that part of their business, they're going to have to come up with something.
Well, and that's it.
Amazon's and Netflix's. I mean, how many actors, and I mean, I don't know if you watch the number of friggin' girl shows that they produce on Netflix, but my God, there's a new, it's almost like Hallmark with them. I mean, they put out these girl shows all the friggin' time.
That's it. And everyone's fine right now because there's movies and sports are coming up. But once the fall television schedule starts, their target dates of usually their season premieres, which is late September, early October, once they start missing those dates and once they have to start delaying movies that they promised would be out early next year or next year, these companies are going to have to buckle on some things. Right. So it's going to have to this will have to come to a head sooner than later.
Exactly. Yeah.
The problem is though, if it takes 6 months to resolve this sets everything back 6 months. So at the minimum, so you have to prepare that this thing doesn't end the day the strikes end. This thing ends maybe a year after the strike ends once they finally get up and running again.
Yep. Okay. There you go.
Something to think about. So as we wrap up today's show, what are your thoughts on summer movies, especially Barbie and Oppenheimer. Are they worth going to in the big screen? And if they are, which one are you going to go see? Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. Or if you think Tom should join the Barbie-heimer cult and see both movies in the same day, hit him up on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at liquid_EP.
You know what? That would be a good challenge. You got to do the Barbie-heimer.
That's the thing, man. People are doing that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a lot of people that were talking about going to both movies this weekend, so I get it. I get it.
Well, there's a lot of jokes online where, Mamma Mia was released the same day as The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh.
So, Dark Mia crawled so Barbenheimer could run.
That's right. There you go. There you go. There you go.
That being said, Jason, take us home.
Hey, thanks for listening, everyone. Hey, I do want to give a shout out to our Oregon listeners. You guys have been great this last week. I appreciate you guys starting to listen to us. We really appreciate you. Hope you enjoyed this show. That was Scott. I am Jason. And as always,